Well, good morning. This is Dave Wright for Boat Talk TV, and today we have Barry Wood with us from the Cape Coral Power Squadron. And because we have a new boat here, because I'm the proud owner of a brand new Robalo 247, we thought it'd be a very good idea to have the experts come out and tell us what we should have, go through the boat and make sure we're not only compliant with the laws, but are being as safe as possible. And we've actually started out with a boat that is literally brand new. It doesn't even have the numbers on it. But without further ado, I'll turn this over and let Mr. Wood talk to us about what we should have and what maybe I don't have.
Okay, good morning. One of the things that's important to know is how to affix the numbers and letters to the bow of the boat. 2 letters for Florida, then there'll be an equal space, then the 4 numbers, another space, and then the final 2 letters. So if it's all run together, I can't pass that boat. So understand 1 space between the first 2 letters and the last 2 letters and the 4 numbers in between. And that would go in this area here, and on the same thing on the other side, along with the registration and the date that it would expire.
So the numbers must be on the forward part of the bow?
Yes, that's correct, on both sides.
And they can't be on the glass?
No, it must be here.
They've got to be placed here, so in the top, what, front 80%?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then with the proper spacing, what does that help the police read it from a distance?
Yes, absolutely. And
Coast Guard?
the sticker is the expiration sticker is going to be on the left side because the law enforcement will always approach you from the port side.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I haven't even put them on yet. We thought we'd have them come out and make sure I do it right,
So,
and I never knew you had to have them spaced properly.
Yeah. So just remember, it's 2 space 4 space 2.
So once you go from there, what's the next step?
The next step is to take a look at your registration, make sure everything is correct and the dates are correct, and then also confirm that the
Number matches
their registration, okay? And then I would record this on my form, and that would be a part of the permanent record, which you will get a copy of, and you will keep that with this registration. So if you're ever stopped by any law enforcement agency, you can produce a...
Oh, the Power Squadron form as opposed to them
Exactly,
me.
exactly. And, you know, they may still check you, but more times than not, they're just going to say, okay, we see you've passed this, you have a sticker affixed to your port side on your windshield, and most of the times they'll just wave you by because they know you've gone through a good inspection.
Okay.
Okay? What I'm going to do now is go through the 15 requirements that the Coast Guard will look for if they stop you.
Okay.
First thing we did is talk about the display numbers.
Yep.
And also your documentation, which I've looked at and recorded here at the top of the page. The next thing we're going to look for is your personal flotation devices.
Yes.
And where are those located?
On this boat, I have 2 over-the-shoulder PVCs.
All right.
As similar to the one that you're wearing.
Yes.
I like those because they're not bulky and
Right.
they're easy to deploy. I also have my throwable device,
Okay.
which is mandated, and I've attached this to a line
Excellent.
that I can actually put around my wrist before I throw it, because if I can't retrieve them, I mean, this will help them from drowning, but it's not going to help them get back into the boat, especially
Right.
if there's a current or surf or whatever.
Exactly.
So I really like this idea, and I keep it right here, and I go through that with the passengers before we leave. The other thing I have is for adults. I have the larger size.
Yes. Excellent.
And I always ask my passengers whether or not they can swim. And you'd be amazed how many people don't know how to swim.
Exactly.
Also, I have 2 3-year-old grandbabies, and they're twins. And one of the things I found over the years is kids don't want to wear life jackets, especially if the parents aren't wearing a life jacket.
Of course.
And they are confining. So what I did for these 3-year-old twins is I got them ladybug life jackets.
That's great.
And you know what? Not only can I get them to wear them, I can't get them to take them off when we're done at the end of the day. They want to take them home.
Of course.
So these, very good idea.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Well, okay, now back to the personal flotation. The thing to remember is no matter how many people you take out, including children, you must have a personal flotation device for each one of those people on your boat.
Okay, for the people on the boat or
On
for
the
the
boat.
capacity of it?
For on the boat.
On the boat. Okay.
Okay?
Because
And-
I've seen a lot of boats out here.
yeah, we
And
all
you can't
have.
tell me they got 18 life
No,
jackets,
probably not.
but they got 18 cans of beer.
Oh yeah, that's the other problem. Yeah. Now, in terms of visual distress signals, usually it's going to be a handheld flare, and now they've gone further with these electronic handheld devices. It's called an ELB, I believe, or an ELP, but it's a strobe light that's powered by a battery, and you won't have to go through the ordeal of striking a
Yes.
flare and hopefully
And having
making
a hot
sure.
flare. One thing you were talking about earlier too is a lot of people may have flares, but they don't know they have a expiration.
Yeah,
date.
exactly. And if you go into a store, a big box store, to buy flares, one of the things to look for is the actual date on the flare that you're buying, because it should have at least 18 months, I believe, before expiration. And as items sit on the shelves, you know, they're continuing to age. So as a result, you may pick up a box of flares or a bag of flares that has 6 months, 8 months left on it. So be aware that there's an expiration date, and always check that when you buy it from the store.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing that's required by the Coast Guard is a fire extinguisher, and it has to be a specific, it has to be a B1 fire extinguisher. This boat is under 26 feet, so all you need is one fire extinguisher.
And it is mounted right here,
Okay.
and it's obviously fresh.
Some of the other things that they look for is if the engine compartment is enclosed, if there's ventilation available, if there's a backfire arrestor. Those are things we don't have to worry about here. Another thing that they're looking for is a bell, whistle, a sound,
Yes.
a horn.
Well, the boat has a horn,
Okay,
and I also have a secondary
excellent.
louder than loud.
Yes, that's excellent.
Because if the motor's not working or the batteries are dead,
Exactly right.
you know, then what do I go back to hey you
Yeah.
or a whistle.
Yeah, exactly right. You you read my mind, because as we know, boats age, and all the things on a boat that works today may not be working tomorrow. So by having a secondary is always a smart thing to do. Now, another thing that is always important and probably is the most overlooked is navigational lights. I can't tell you how many times I get on a boat, go to look at the nav lights, either one or all of them don't work.
Okay.
So always important, if you don't do it every time you take it out, at least check it once a month or once a week whenever you're conveniently on the boat, and just make sure everything's working, because you never know, especially down here, weather can change very quickly, and it can
Or
be
leaks.
dark, or leaks can occur for no reason, and it can damage these things, and if you're not able to turn them on when you absolutely need them, it could be a problem.
Yeah, we checked this boat, and but one thing that I have seen, especially out in the river out here, is a lot of people don't check the white light.
That's right.
Because it's out of their field of vision.
Exactly.
They have no just reference point from the helm.
Yeah.
And that is really what is aiding people in determining your course and
Absolutely.
speed in order to pass without incident.
So could we go do that right now?
Sure.
Okay.
So up here we have what?
Your stern light, and it's illuminated. That's good. Now let's go up front and take care of the nav lights. Oh yeah, that's on.
Okay.
You're in good shape. Now you stated that you had a some kind of a toilet on here.
Yes.
Okay. Now is it self-enclosed or does it empty? into
it empties. It is a vacuum flush, they call it. It has a gray holding tank.
Okay. Are you able to secure it so no waste can be dumped into
Yes.
Okay.
There's a valve
Yes.
in the accessory bay.
Okay. Now, we've completed the items that are necessary for the Coast Guard requirements. However, there's some other items that are certainly recommended, but by no means are they required. Specifically, a marine radio. And even if it's a handheld device where you can monitor channel 16, which is the emergency.
Well, this boat.
Oh yeah, I see that.
I have a Garmin handheld, and I also have a standby ICOM.
Excellent. Excellent.
In case, again, I lose batteries, I still want to
Absolutely.
be able to communicate, and that is a self-contained battery.
And one of the things that I so enjoy asking people is if they have a dewatering device, otherwise known as a bucket.
But it's a bail with.
Exactly right. Again, this is not a requirement, but it might be handy to have at some point in time.
I don't have a bucket on
Okay.
this boat. This does have an electrical
Yes.
automatic.
Another thing is recommended is a mounted fire extinguisher, which you currently have already, which is excellent. Anchor in line, I can see that from the windlass, so that's it's important. Something that maybe sometimes overlooked is the little first aid kit or person in the water kit. Something that take care of the littlest things. You get a rope burn, or you slide on the non-skid.
You get bumps and scrapes,
Yeah.
and yes, we have a first aid kit. However, it's buried in there.
Okay, that's fine as long as you have it. Now, if for some reason the flares didn't work at all, it's nice to have some alternative to fall back on. And a lot of people will have actually the flares sometimes come with as a kit, and you'll have an orange flag with it, probably, I don't know, maybe a foot by 18 inches, or a mirror that you can reflect to get attention. Some people have gone so far as to use CDs.
Yeah, never thought of that. That's a
Just
good
as
idea.
something as a backup. If all else fails, you've got something.
Well, I also have a flare gun
Okay, all
with
right.
these like shotgun shell, and I've got 6.
Okay,
I would rather shoot a flare than hold a
Yes.
flare in my hand.
yes. Something you should know that each fall, the squadron holds a flare shoot down at the yacht club, and it allows people that have never struck a flare what they need to do in order to make this thing work, and how to hold it safely without burning your foot. So just keep that in mind. I'm sure it'll be in the newspaper, but it's usually in the fall, and it's at the yacht club around
What yacht club?
the Cape Coral Yacht Club. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. And we have the fire department, Coast Guard there, so it's all very well handled. Everything is coordinated through the squadron. So it's a nice event for people that haven't had the opportunity to strike a flare or shoot a flare gun, either way. So, all right, and the last item we're looking at is a certificate of compliance or a capacity. Sometimes there's a plaque or a
It's right up here.
a sticker of some sort. Yep, that's what I'm looking for. You're in good shape. All right. And again, it's one of those things that's important to have but not required to have. Now, there's a number of things that we can talk about.
Sure.
Accident reporting, offshore operation, nautical charts, things like this. If you're familiar with this, that's great. But if you're not familiar, well, if I'm going to go offshore, is there anything different that I should be concerned about?
Yes.
Yes, there is. A lot of things
A
you'd be
lot
concerned
of
with.
things.
So if you take the time to look at the things that may be necessary if you're going to go put yourself in that situation.
No, this is a good checklist for people that
Absolutely.
You know, living in Florida for the past 10 years, you'll find so many people that, oh, I've had a boat, I've lived in the Great Lakes, and I know.
Right.
Well, they don't know anything about tides. They don't know anything about salt water.
Exactly.
They don't know anything about the currents that we have here. The biggest thing I found, as you will attest to, is nobody knows how shallow the water is around Fort Myers.
Yes.
I mean, it is skinny.
Yeah.
And you have to know where you are.
Here's a good rule of thumb. If you see birds standing in the water, don't go toward them.
Yeah. Why are those birds standing in the water?
Right. They don't have 4-foot legs.
They're not all flamingos.
Right, exactly. You know, I came down here 5-6 years ago, and I was from Chicago.
Okay.
Well, as you know, we've got Lake Michigan. There's no tides. There's no current. There's no shallow. There's no markers. No. You want to go from here to there, you go. You cannot do that down here. And I think people that have boated in the north or northeast come down here and think, well, I can just cut across here and get right over there. And sure enough, you're going to be stuck high and dry. Well, we're all squared here. You know that you'll need flares.
Yes.
And I'll be happy to come back and check those flares and provide you with a copy of this vessel safety check.
And then I would get a sticker
You'll get this sticker.
Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so we want one of those. This is if the Coast Guard or the sheriff. We have so many law enforcement.
I think there's 9 different agencies down here.
There's 9?
I believe so.
Okay, there's 9 people that can, organizations that can pull over your boat. And I think to have this on your boat would really waylay a lot of analysis by one of those 9 trusted law enforcement
There you go.
groups. And he's not going to give it to me because I don't have the flare. Barry, this has been absolutely terrific.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time and patience with us. I appreciate you going over my little boat called Avalon here. I think we're going to have a lot of fun in the future.
It's a beautiful boat.
And knowing that we're safe and legal certainly waylays trepidation for me. Barry, thank you again. I appreciate your time and your attention to us, and we will look forward to see you in many other videos.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate you watching today. And as I said, Barry, we are attaching at the end of this video a link to his web page, so you'll be able to see all the offerings of the Cape Coral Power Squadron, and make sure you avail yourselves of these wonderful, wonderful opportunities.